Welcome to the Marketing for the Culture podcast, powered by the African American Marketing Association. Each week, we'll bring you an insightful conversation from some of the best experts in our industry on how to advance our career. Join the collective of Black marketers across the world, advancing their brand as we work towards creating a collaborative community. All right, hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Marketing for the Culture podcast. Today's special guest is Dana. She is the creative director of b.iD Creative and the designer of the infamous AAMA logo. Dana, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Hi, Michelle. I'm excited to be here, excited to speak with everyone. I'll speak with you and, everyone listening.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, as you mentioned, I am the owner and creative director of b.iD. We are a full-service branding and marketing solutions agency. April, I should say this, I'm excited. April, we're celebrating 8 years. So that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And we're branding first. We can help with an array of services, starting with, your logo like we did with AAMA and websites, just a whole bunch of things. So we've worked with brands across Houston and across the country, and we're excited.
So what does b.iD stand for?
So it's actually been the third time I've been asked this just today. But people always ask this. b.iD stands for everything and nothing. I'm joking. Technically, when I started it does stand for the core of what we do, but we've grown beyond that now. But branding, identity, print, and web design, that was always our base. So that's where you get the b.iD, b.iD, branding, identity. That's where that comes in. But we have an annual day of service, Be Impactful Day. My mother says it stands for blessing in disguise.
Oh, I like that.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So today, we're not going to talk about the typical branding. Today, we're going to talk about, I'm going to pretty much just say what you told me, because I don't want to mess it up. Your newest branding element, cybersecurity.
Yes.
Now, you're already throwing us in a loop, because I'm thinking branding, graphics, Instagram, website, identity design, right? So what is cybersecurity and why is this important?
So in the traditional sense, cybersecurity is basically the process and procedure of protecting and securing digital assets and information from attacks, basically. Cybersecurity right there in a nutshell. And so why it's important for small business? Now, this is the part that's tricky. Everyone thinks, I got to be Target. I got to be Sony. Only those people get hacked.
Right.
No, that is not true. If you can be found, you can be hacked. The scope of the hack, the benefit of the hack might vary. So they might not necessarily get social security numbers from hacking your website in particular, but they can implant code that will, my brain just went away with the word, but that can put your client or your user's website at risk or their systems at risk. And that's still through you. They can also put code on your website that redirects traffic from your website to a malicious website. And that all affects your brand. And so businesses from any entity, again, if you can be found on the internet, you can be hacked. People impersonating you on Facebook, Instagram, that is also part of cybersecurity.
When you put it like that, I've definitely experienced that a couple of times in my personal and entrepreneurial journey. So I think this is a very important topic. So what is the first thing we need to consider as marketers doing websites and things of that nature, or as a small business owner? What are the first things we need to consider?
First things you would want to consider as part of your cybersecurity, as part of your business, as part of your brand is, and it should be part of your business strategy, just overall. So the earlier you implement these things, the easier it is. It's the same, even when we build a brand, it's easier to build a solid brand than it is to rebrand. And so if you can start implementing processes, so for example, not using the same password for every single thing. That's an easy, super easy thing to implement. And oh no, I know I will call people up because I use the same passwords and I'm trying to change them. But it's easier to not use the same passwords for everything if you utilize a password management software. So personally, b.iD, we use LastPass. We love them. And it is actually really cost effective. It's not that much money. And so you're able to use a lot of different passwords, maintain security, and not run the risk of necessarily forgetting them. But you cannot not remember your LastPass. Like, that's one password you will have to remember. Remember your last password.
So the Google Chrome saving the passwords is not it? Is that what you're telling me?
I've used those too. They're not as secure. And then, of course, that depends on, you syncing through browsers and all of that. Whereas, like, when you have a password manager, you can have it on your computer, your phone. They're a lot more secure. And then they will work on different platforms, different browsers, different operating systems, and through different apps. The ones that I gripe with are when apps block password managers. I'm like, you want me to have a 16-character password and then don't want me to use my manager? Okay, we gotta pick one or two.
Okay. So password manager. Yeah. What else? What would be a second thing that we should consider or we can utilize?
Implement processes and policies for how you're going to handle your cybersecurity. So again, even with passwords. So who is going to have access? That's another reason why I love having password managers, because we, as a branding company, we build websites, we manage social media platforms, we manage a lot of accounts for people. I don't want to have to share passwords with my employees, sending them by email. We're able to allow people to have access to passwords without them having to actually see said credentials, and then being able to also seamlessly revoke access to that material, which limits liabilities that we may have. So setting up those policies. One thing that we've tried to implement, because it wasn't part of our process early on, people used to just email things to us all the time. So making it adamant that, okay, we're at b.iD, will never email anyone a password. I guess the exception is like if we know the setup says that on their next sign in, they do have to immediately change the password. But we don't email passwords. We're going to share it via LastPass or some other applicable secure platform.
I think it's interesting because especially a lot of SaaS companies, they make their money off of offering a product, but it costs more the more users you add, right? So if it's one user, it's $9.99 a month, which could be really affordable. But if it's 5 or more users, it's $39.99 a month, right? And then you see people going the cheap route where I'm just going to give you my username and password. And you have, 3 people on your team that have this one login because we're trying to save some money. So is there an answer? What's the solution to that? Because I know a lot of solopreneurs can be guilty of that.
Oh, yes. I am also guilty of that because, again, these are things we've learned. So, I learned along the way. I'm working to be better. When you learn to do better, you work to be better. So still working progress on our end as well. So do work within what you can. So for an example, again, with LastPass, I've not paid LastPass. I'm going to have to work on them with that. We need to work on some brand partnerships. So I have to set them up just mostly because we use them. But
affiliate links.
Just know that I'm not affiliated. I should be, but I'm not right now. They do have a business tier, but I didn't have enough users for their business tier. So I used their family tier. And it came with like 5 users because we only have a team of like 4 of us. So I have their family plan, and it's like $60 for the year.
That is reasonable.
So that worked for me. Just analyze who has access to everything. Also, when we do share a password with users and when people have shared passwords with us, I found out from about LastPass from a previous client. And when they shared a password with us, I was able to access it. I did have to create an account, but I never was charged to access the account. You only have to create an account when you want to start saving your own passwords.
Okay. And then
so I think that was helpful.
And then change your password once you let go of the employee. Just update the passwords.
Passwords.
And I think that's something I had to learn. You want to update passwords. You want to revoke access. And I know we'll be like, oh, we'll get to it. I'll get to it. Try to do it as soon as possible. Especially if you know you're going to fire them versus them leaving. just some insight. No experience, just insight.
I heard a story once.
Okay. So I do think some of the tips that you have provided are reasonable. And like you said, I think we kind of have this thing where we're not target. Like, surely no one's gonna, attack my website. And something that we have to grow into. So how do we know when it's time to hire someone, or I want to say get more serious, but you're like, we need to be serious now.
There's stuff that you can do for the low and for the cheap.
Mm-hmm.
It just takes a little bit of discipline. Yes. But if you wanted to hire someone, I guess it just depends on, again, your goals. So looking back at the things that most small businesses will have in their arsenal, it's going to be their emails. Again, stop using like company initials 1, 2, 3 as your password. And like, you even know. I'm like, oh yeah, send us your credentials. I'm like, yeah, we're going to change this password just so you know. So make sure that your company emails, those passwords are secure. Like literally your passwords. If anyone only does anything after this, listening to this, like your passwords, make sure that those are secure. For your emails, for your hosting platforms, for if you use a website with a content management system or a backend, make sure that user login is secure, and your social media login. So anything that's popular. So if you use Google, you use Instagram, Facebook, WordPress. We love WordPress. Pretty much all of the sites we build are on WordPress. All those things are very popular. Popular things are constantly at risk for brute force attacks. So you can make sure that those things are less susceptible to being hacked or breached by just making sure that your passwords are secure and that you manage and monitor who has access to those passwords. If you need to have people managing things, so managing your actual IT systems, let's say you do want to have someone managing that, then of course they need to know what they're doing. So not to say that you need to study up and become an IT expert to be sure that what they're hiring, but there's certain things that an IT person can explain and let you know. And because they're always going to be reasonable, or not reasonable, but they should be reasonable. The people who are just trying to sell you stuff will sell you all the things, and they'll scare you. They'll do that, terror theater. and tell you, the world is coming to an end. Everything is falling apart. You need all of these new parts, and they'll sell you hardware. That's where, they'll sell you all these things. That's not necessarily what you need. You want the people who are going to break down a plan. If you are running like Windows 95, yeah, you might need some new software. But if you're on hardware, that's a different
maybe.
That's a different story. But they're gonna like really look at who your business is, what platforms you're operating on, where you're trying to go, and then help you implement a plan to, I guess, maybe modernize you if needed, if your case is that extreme. But also just be like honest, like, okay, no, you really just need to change all your passwords because you don't know who has access to this anymore. That really is the clean step. We need to make sure that we have a process for when are we going to change passwords, because you might want to implement a policy of we're going to update our passwords, change out the passwords once every 6 months, once a year. That's like part of our annual duties. And with your website, if you're going to have someone manage your website, then they should be able to handle as much of that as possible. So knowing how to handle malware breaches and, script injections. Ideally, you won't ever have to deal with any of that, but you don't want to charge someone with securing your website, your systems, and their scope is limited, and now you have to go find someone else to actually handle this. I do think that's, and references are going to be key too. So that's also something you can ask for references. Other people have worked with them and their experience that could offer some insight from someone who may be less versed in cybersecurity and the world of IT.
I'm a service-based business. Basic website. I'm not selling anything. I'm just telling you about myself. Is it okay if my website is HTTP versus HTTPS?
Now, do you have a contact form on your website?
I do.
Yes.
That's good.
Yes, that's really weird. Yeah, even if you just have a simple contact form, you do want it. You can get free SSL certificates, honestly, now.
Oh, okay.
It's not that, there's a website. I can find the link somewhere. I forget their name, but you can get free SSL certificates now. And they might not have the same lifespan, like they might renew every 3 months as opposed to every year, but they're still free. And so it just adds a little extra layer of security when people are even just submitting their name, email, phone number, and a little message. That's important. Also, having an SSL is beneficial for search engine optimization. So Google does give preference to sites that have an SSL certificate as well, as opposed to those that don't.
Noted. Okay. No, that's really good. I think that's always been my argument. Like, I'm not selling anything. But you're right. The contact form is information that I'm gathering, and people need to feel confident that when they're giving me their information.
Yes.
Okay. What about e-commerce sites?
That's it's a requirement. You have to have this. Like, it's part of being PCI compliant. Especially if you're taking payments on the website. Like that's actually now a non-negotiable. But e-commerce sites need to be more worried about cybersecurity, because if your site gets hacked, you can't make no money. And so, you need to have everything feeling secure. It goes as part of your brand. So if I don't trust this, branding is about trust. I trust your business to say you're going to do what you say you're going to do, to provide the services that you say you have to offer, to give me a level of, quality service. And so if your website is compromised, I know that's not necessarily a thing you did, maybe, but it does show a slight representation, because if I have a poor experience, I'm tying that back to your brand. If your site gets hacked, I might feel like, well, how long has this been here? I don't know. This is the first time I've ever seen. Is this the thing that just appeared within the first 30 seconds before I clicked on it? Has it been here for 6 months? And you just don't care about your business? I don't know. But I'm going to get the hell out of here because,
I care about my business.
Yes. So that's what you want. That's why cybersecurity is very much important. If you have all of these things, because systems are also at risk. Again, I don't want to click on your website and then be taken to, some Taiwanese adult site.
Okay. So just yesterday, I saw a clip where they were saying, be careful about the QR codes that you scan. Particularly, this guy did a video. He was standing in front of a bank. So a lot of banks have, some kind of flyer with the QR code stuck on their door, on the inside of their door, so you can scan it or whatever. But people are replacing it with their QR code, and it's taking you to a malicious website, right? So things are crazy out here.
I tell you, these criminal masterminds are truly masterminds. Like, they out here just coming up doing the most. And so, I wish they would use their evil powers for good.
Yeah, so be careful out there. I just got into the QR code game, but just be careful on what you're scanning, because the last thing you want is your phone to be attacked somehow because you scanned the wrong thing by accident.
Yeah.
I have a question. Okay. So it kind of goes back to what you said earlier, strategy. Like, we should implement this in our strategy. Dana, I don't have a cybersecurity strategy. All I know is I want to revamp my website, and I'm going to come to b.iD Creative. So walk me through your process. I guess when you're teaching your client about this back end, right? The cybersecurity, the back end of this when it comes to web design.
So we tend to handle most of it. So I try not to burden our clients too much with a lot of the nerdy details. I get weirdly excited about it. But we do let them know the basics. So again, biased or not, we do love building websites on WordPress. We love the scalability of it all, and the features that they offer. So you have the parts where clients can handle certain things on their own. As a developer, I'm able to build out custom things, and also utilize the plethora of other developers who have been building things for WordPress to, scale our clients after more functionality, just do great things in the world of business. And so, and WordPress powers something like 40-something% of all websites on the internet. So it was a lot of websites. And again, because it is a content management system, because it has so much reach, it is always susceptible to hacks. And that's something that we put into when we build websites. So hiding backends, using secure logins. I always tell everyone, like, when they get their login, like, don't share logins. Like, that's one of the great things, is you can add users, and you can have users with different access levels. So make sure that if you need to add a new employee, you give them a new user login, so you can change the password as needed, delete the user as needed, and manage access. The other thing I try to tell people, which they don't listen to me about, is updating their software. So I know Mac users only get updates every so often, and then they complain about them because a lot of things happen. But when you have Android or Windows, updates are part of your life. We're used to updates. And so the same thing with WordPress. There's going to be tons of updates. Part of that is new features, but a lot of that is actually security. They're patching bugs. So you have people who are trying to get access to files, by finding weaknesses. And then you have the actual developers of the software. They're also trying to find those same weaknesses to fill them before they can be manipulated or used by those who want to do harm. And so that is why plugin updates are extremely important. So the longer you have old code, the more time you're giving people ability to find and capitalize on weaknesses in your website. Updates fill those holes. And that's why, and then it adds further security. Also adds different benefits, like sending features, sometimes things be faster, all in that nature. So website updates, those are like literally some of the two of the things. It's always just make sure your site is updated, and then make sure that you're using secure passwords and that you provide users their own access that you can revoke. We also utilize security plugins, make sure that they're able to do their jobs, consistently scanning the site, and provide and be able to just provide notices if something's changed, like if a file is changed. We also make sure we do backups. That's something that we always set up. So we set up security, we set up regular backups so that you have files. If that's one thing that we actually did have an issue on, is we set up backups, but because no one was actually managing the website, paying attention, the backups ended up actually being useless because the backups saved all the corrupted files. So we had like 3 months of backups, but they were all corrupted because the site's been corrupted for like 6 months. No one said anything. So that causes a problem. But if you're proactive and constantly monitoring and you have these systems in place and you can catch something quickly, you need to revert back to a backup from a month ago. It's easier to implement, add a blog page back, whatever, just to delete whatever, because the site was fine 4 weeks ago. There was absolutely nothing wrong. The files were clean 4 weeks ago. Let's easily revert back to that. You can just delete the current site, go back to the old site, like it never happened.
No, that's really good. I think sometimes we see and hear these things, but we don't know the reason why. Or maybe we had a bad experience and it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to do this. Not knowing, because you're not doing this, you can have 2, 3, 4, 5, so many other things negative, which makes, just a situation worse than that one bad experience.
Yes.
Okay. So how do we get rid of spam comments on our website?
So that is a tricky one sometimes. There are plugins that we can use. Sometimes it's just disabling comment feeds, but that's not something that you want to do all the time, especially trying to get engagement. E-commerce sites, you always want the ability to have people provide comment reviews on your products, because that's usually how you sell more products, because people believe other people more than they'll believe you on the quality of your product. So but implementing different things. So if you spam comments on the front end for the websites we build are rarely a problem. It's usually just a nuance and a nuisance in the background, because we set up so that comments can't get posted unless they're from a verified user and they got to go through a review process. So they rarely ever show up, almost never show up on the front end. And then you can set up things. So like we use Google reCAPTCHA. And so we've been setting that up on all of our websites to try and block as much spam as possible. And yeah, because reCAPTCHA is the whole "Are you a robot?" test.
Mm-hmm.
And so and that is, I know Google's been changing things. I know there's like a level you can pay for it now, but for the most part, getting reCAPTCHA code is and implementing that is free. So we also do that as well.
This is really good information. Is there anything else we should know that maybe I haven't asked?
No, should know that you haven't. I'm not sure. My brain is not coming up with that right now. But I do think my big thing that I want everyone to take away is that to understand that if you're building a business, you need to consider cybersecurity. We're in a digital world. And if your goal is to be around for more than 6 months, then, because if your goal is only to be around for 3 months, then you're probably part of the problem. But if you're trying to build a sustainable business, you should be thinking aspirational. Like, my business is going to be great. People are going to want to hack me. So I need to start protecting us now. Like, people be impersonating people on social media all the time. No, I need to be putting things to secure my business now, because you're not going to remember when you created that one random account because you only needed it for that one instance. And you don't know what's happened in the world, especially who's had access to what. And so emails go crazy. It's everyone, every so often I'll get emails from prominent people that I've worked with, and it's spam. And I'm just like, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Because someone hacked their email account. Because it's not just your website, it's your social media. You'll be sending random DMs to people impersonating you. Your emails can get hacked, and your whole email contacts. And now that client, that 6-figure project you was trying to get, they got an email from you asking for a loan.
I gotta tell this story before we wrap up, because I've been hacked. Email, website, Instagram. So, but this was a long time ago. This was in early 2006, 7, 8, somewhere around there. And, I'm Cameroon. Everyone doesn't know that. They'll be like, oh, she's African. Everyone African is Nigerian, right? So that's the assumption. And one day I was heading to Dallas. I left early in the morning on the road to Dallas. And I was on the road and I just got a bunch of emails. And my contacts at the time were responding like, where can I send you money? I'll send you some money. I'll send you some money. And I was like, why? Like, I don't need no money, but I'll take it. What's going on here? So I literally pulled over on the side of the road and my email got hacked. So it was one of those Nigerian scams. And the email says something about, hey, I got stuck in Nigeria. I left my purse in the taxi and I need some money so I can fly back home. So because back to Houston, right? So because everyone knows I'm African, they thought it was real. So they were responding like, I want to get you home. So it was like the longest drive to Dallas ever, because I'm responding to these emails. It's like, don't send the money. I'm okay. I'm okay. I don't need them. So
now, can you imagine if that happened today?
I know. I would definitely, because I wasn't as professional back then, so I would definitely be like anxiety ridden if it happened today, because it's just a different level of business that I'm in now. Okay.
No, it is a serious thing, and it's like, again, it's all levels. Like I said, it's the emails, it's the websites. Oh, another one. Be careful of the links. So just like the QR code, be careful of the links you're clicking on, because that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Yes, there are different levels, and just having someone competent that you can employ, have access to is key. Because I do remember, there's been stories. I've gotten emails with threats. Some of y'all may have gotten just like,
oh my gosh,
I have these files of you, and if you don't want me to share them, then you need to send me, some Bitcoin. I'm like, okay, that's nice. Okay. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is wild. Okay.
Actually, no. cybersecurity is crazy, and there's like a lot of different levels, and that's how I've learned how to protect it so that people can't phish our emails, like send emails as us. How to prevent that. Yeah, this is a wild world, and it's just a lot of different levels. But having someone on your team, and also then just being conscious that it is important, because the bigger you get, is the worse it's going to get. Because yeah, if all these big companies can get breached, like, why do you think your little bitty company can't get breached?
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. All right, Dana. So how can people find you?
So they can find us. Website is b.iDcreative.com. I'm on social media technically. I'm going to work on that over the summer. Sort of my life out right now. But b.iD, or on Instagram, Facebook. Find me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's good. Also on Twitter, having some fun over there. So I'm on a few platforms. I'm accessible.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much. This is a wealth of knowledge, and I appreciate you bringing this to the forefront, because we need to know this and we need to implement this. You have a great blog on that, the seven cybersecurity measures you can implement today. So we're going to link that in the show notes so you can read all about that. And please reach out to Dana if you do have any questions or assistance in this area. So once again, thanks for listening to Marketing for the Future. Thank you for listening to Marketing for the Culture podcast. If you haven't already, please subscribe, whether it's on Apple, Google, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform. And of course, our videos are on YouTube. If you have a moment, feel free to give us a rate, review, or just comment. We appreciate our sponsors for their continuous support. Also, if you're interested in learning more about our sponsors or becoming a member of the African American Marketing Association, visit aa-ma.org.